Hey folks, I'm Gene Delasalo with Audioholics. Today I would like to do a video for you on how to set up multi-sub in your home theater. And the reason why we use multiple subs, or two subwoofers in this case, is because we want to have good bass from seat to seat. So you can't really achieve that with a single sub. You could get great bass response in a very small listening area with a single sub, but when you strategically place two subwoofers, or even four subwoofers preferably, into a room and you get them all set up properly, you're going to get consistent bass from seat to seat, and then you can EQ that bass. So if you have any big bumps in the room, once you have seat to seat consistency by having multi-sub, the EQ becomes far more effective at getting rid of those big bumps, and it works for every seat, not just one area or one position. So I want to talk about all the different tools we're using here. I've got my laptop plugged into my receiver. I have a Marantz SR8012 using HDMI, and we're using a free program called REW or REW. And it's a great little program here to do all your acoustical measurements. You can do frequency response, you can do waterfall, you can do time domain stuff. I'm focusing mostly on frequency response in this video because speakers in a room, especially at bass frequencies, are minimum phase. So what that means is if you get the frequency response right, then your phase response should be good as well. So really everything at low frequencies below a couple of hundred hertz, which is the room transition frequency, where the room dominates the sound as opposed to the speaker dominating the sound at higher frequencies, bass frequency response is everything. So if you get a flat, reasonably flat response, consistent from each seat, then you know the bass is going to be good. So using REW, I got myself a Dayton microphone. It's the UMM6. It's a USB microphone. I have it plugged in here. This is what I really recommend to you guys. It's like $80 for the microphone, and it comes with a calibration file that you actually download online. You plug it into REW, and it already calibrates SPL level as well, so you don't need a separate SPL meter to do any of the proper calibration. It's going to know it because it knows the reference to that microphone. And this microphone is pretty accurate down. It's definitely accurate down to 20 hertz. It's a little noisy below 20 hertz. You can still get some good measurement results below 20. If you're worried about consistency, I would do the sweeps a couple of times and just to make sure it's in the right ballpark. So I get good results with this microphone. It's an easy setup. I had this thing set up in a few minutes. And again, if you look at the screen over here at REW, I'm going to show you just the interface. And we're going to do a dedicated video on how to use REW, but I just wanted to show you this stuff here. So you got your frequency response limits. I'm going to set this to 100 hertz. We're testing from 10 hertz to 100 hertz. And I like to use a very narrow vertical window. You'll see a lot of people doing measurements online, and their measurements look like a straight line from 10 hertz out to 100 hertz. It's because they're either using a lot of smoothing or they're using a very large vertical scale, which is a form of smoothing itself. So we want high resolution measurements. I use usually 50 or 60 dB scale. Right now we have it set for 50 dB. And you know, in your setup over here, again, I'm not going to go crazy going over all this stuff, but this is where you set up your microphone and you put in your mic calibration file. I already have that all set up. And I want to go over, let's see. Yes, here it is. The UMM6, like I was saying, the calibration text file is already imported. My sound card's already set up. I'm using HDMI, left plus right. Now, when you're doing bass setup in your room, what I recommend is put your receiver in 2-channel mode. And you can see here we have the SR8012 from Marantz. This is their flagship 11-channel receiver. I have it in set for front 2-channel stereo. And I'm going to be testing it with both subs. And before we get into this, I wanted to show you some of the things you have control over that you have to set up. And you got to go into your bass management settings here. So go to manual mode. You can see here, I have my speaker configuration because I'm running all small speakers in this setup. So the bass management is enabled. That means that all of these speakers are being crossed over. And I set the crossover in this case at 80 hertz. For most of my channels, I believe. And then I have my Atmos channels. I set them a little bit higher because they're open baffle. They don't have as much bass response. And in this case, The LFE, if you have a separate LFE setting, I would set that to 120 Hertz. That way the LFE channel has full bandwidth going to your subwoofers. And this is where you do your level and your distances, and distance is really critical here. And I did a lot of different empirical measurements here to come up with these two numbers for subwoofer 1 and subwoofer 2. Now in my setup over here, I've got two subs. They're diagonally placed in the room, so they're not the most ideal locations. But this is a real family room. It's open to a kitchen. I can't put the subs mid-wall, and I can't put them in the corners. There's just no corner in this room. So I did the best I could without interfering too much with the walkways. And then I'm basically using proper time alignment with the distances, and as well as EQ, phase alignment, all the different tricks I'm going to show you in this video to get the best kind of response I can. So really, when you're setting up for multi-sub, you want to find the best locations for your subwoofers, which we have videos on. You could do the subwoofer crawl, and you could use the law of reciprocity to find multiple positions where you want to put those subwoofers. And then you got that good. Then you also want to get your positional EQ good, or your seats. You don't want to typically put your seats up against a wall. Now in my setup here, the primary couch is in a good location. It's about 2/3 of the way back in the room. The secondary couch is of course against a wall. Can't do anything about that. It's a family room. It's not going to have the best calibration results for bass, but that's where you put the mother-in-law. You know, if you get the person that's really not that into home theater as much, they'll sit there and they want to watch the movie anyways. So we're doing the best we can. This is a real room. This is not my controlled home theater room that I have upstairs. So not every seat in this room is going to be a perfect seat, but with the two subs that I'm using, you're going to see I'm getting very consistent results across at least 3 or 4 seats, the most important seats, where we always watch the movies most of the time, whether it's my wife and I and my kid. We always sit on that couch, so it's all optimized. So anyways, I've got the two different subwoofer settings here, distance of each. If you're going out and you're buying a receiver, it's worth a little bit extra money to get one that has 2 subwoofer outputs that have independent delay and independent trim settings. Some of the lower price receivers are like 800 and lower. They'll have 2 subwoofer outputs, but it's just a parallel connection. So it's really just one connection split out into a Y splitter. Or sometimes it has 2 output amplifiers, but it's still controlled off of one phase and one level control. So always look for one that has subwoofer 1 and subwoofer 2 independent delays. This really makes a difference in how you get the subwoofers to integrate not only with each other, but at the critical crossover region between the subwoofers and the main speakers. So I found these two numbers to be the ideal setting. And the other thing you can do in your bass management here is to make sure that, let's see here, when you do your level testing, in fact, I'm trying to figure out how to do manual level here. There we go. So if you want to just give it a go to start with, I use the SPL meter at the primary listening seat, and I match all the different levels for all the channels, match it to the subwoofers. Get your level set before you start doing any real calibration. And that's going to change a little bit as you get everything tweaked out. So after we got our subwoofers positioned and set up, and we're getting ready to do some measurements now, I wanted to show you, I'm going to just do a measurement of one subwoofer playing at the primary listening seat. And I want to show you just, the response you're going to get with just that one sub. Okay, so that's the measurement now with just one sub playing. You can see there's a huge amount of energy here, below 30 Hertz. And then over here we got a lot of dips out to 100 Hertz. This isn't a great response. We have good extension below 20 Hertz, so this is going down to 10. So I want to turn on the other sub now. Again, we're not even optimized yet, but I want to just show you the difference it makes when I turn that second sub on. And let's run another sweep again. Now I put the length here. If you're running HDMI and you want to have a high sampling rate for accuracy, I have it set for 512K. So you can see that really made a huge difference. We got rid of a lot of the suck outs in the 30 to 40 hertz range. Still not perfect. We still have some issues there. So I want to show you something that I found out on my own here. Just by adjusting the phase of my subs, just trial and error at this point. I'm going to show you how I can get that response even better. And when you're doing this kind of stuff, you want to make sure you're not damaging other seats. So when I adjust the phase of my subs, these JL Audio E112s have variable phase controls. Some subwoofers only have 0 to 180. Luckily, these don't. They have variable phase. So I want to show you how I can improve this response. And you see that's much better. We have much better integration now in the crossover region for the satellite speakers, and this suck out is gone. So let me do this. And this is the baseline measurement I did before, so I know I'm pretty much where I need to be. So I'm going to call this measurement. In fact, let me delete the other ones. Okay, I'm going to call this one front center. And this is an excellent response, actually. I mean, those little dips here are not that big of a deal. Unfortunately, we have a little dip here. Now, if you don't have, you really can't EQ dips. You could try to EQ a couple of dB here or there, but if it's not helping, you're going to waste power. So I don't recommend worrying too much about those. What you're worried about is if you have a giant peak. You can hear the peaks more than you can hear dips. So what I wanted to show you is the microphone position where it is now. So let me show you the couch. So this is the Dayton audio microphone, the UMM6 that we're using, that I was telling you about, the USB microphone. When you're setting up your microphone, you don't want to put it up against any surfaces. You want to keep it away from a back surface. You want to point it straight up towards the ceiling, and you want to put the mic around ear level. So this is what I'm calling the front center couch position. Now let me show you when I measure the seat that I sit at. This is where I sit in the family room most of the time. So I'm going to call this the right couch position. And now we're going to look at the screen and we're going to do another measurement. And what we should see if the subs are set up properly is the trace should be very similar. There's going to be some different, dips and bumps, but we want to have a reasonable amount of consistency. That way, if we do any EQing, it's more effective. And you can see this is very consistent. Look at the bass here. It's almost identical below 60 hertz. Of course, there's going to be some variances here, but this is a very good range. And again, this is a high resolution measurement. I just wanted to show you, you'll see this a lot online. You'll see people posting these great response curves, but then they go and smooth it by doing this. See, look how good that looks now. Doesn't look like there's any problem. It looks like it's very consistent. But Audioholics is not like that. We like to show the truth in audio and video. So we like to see it how it really is. We like to see the details. So there you can see this is a very good response. I'm pretty happy with this, especially considering that these subwoofers are perfectly positioned. I'm not really doing a whole lot of EQ right now. I'm going to do a separate video on Audyssey. And in fact, I wanted to talk to you a minute about auto EQ and mic positions. So I am going to do a video on Audyssey. I'm going to do a video on Anthem Arc. Those are going to be coming. One thing I've noticed, I've seen whether it was on the forums or just even going to some of the dealers that install these systems, I overhear them talking to customers about when they set up Audyssey, and they're like, you need to put the microphone all around the room. Just give the system multiple points in the room to learn your room, and it'll do its magic, it'll do its math, and it'll figure out the right response for your system. Well, that's not really the best kind of advice to give, because all of these systems work on kind of a best approximation or best fits. So if you start giving multiple different points of the room that are far off locations from each other, the system is not going to average well. So in this room in particular, I'm not going to do, when I do auto EQ, I'm not going to really auto EQ that other couch that's by the wall, because the response there is going to be drastically different anyways. So what I tell people when you're setting up auto EQ systems is you don't want to do more than about a 3 or 4 foot radius from the primary seat. So that microphone shouldn't really alter any more than about 3 or 4 feet from that area. And what that gives you about, I think, a 30 square foot area of coverage. So we'll be able to cover this front couch, but we're not going to make the mother-in-law seats perfect. So don't go and do auto EQ in those areas. And I know some of these auto EQ systems will give you up to like 32 points for measurements. You don't need that many points. I would say, 6 to 10 measurements is sufficient. And what I would do is I would point the money seat. I would go a couple of feet in front of the money seat. Then I go to the other 2 seats to the sides, do their primary position, and then go a couple of feet in front of those positions as well. And it'll give the system plenty of data to do its correction. So we've already done 2 spots. I'm going to do my other couch. My other position on the same couch. And you don't want to have the pillows too close to the microphones either. So just keep a good clear path to that mic. And I'm going to relabel this measurement we just took. I'm going to call it, that was right. I'll just call it LC. So now we're going to do LC, and this is my wife's favorite place to sit. So I hope the bass is good, honey. It's not perfect, but it's pretty darn good. This peak is a little troublesome to me, but I think that could be fixed a little bit by adjusting the phase a little bit more. Like I said, you have 3 variables you can control. You have level, you have delays, and you have phase on your subwoofers. And then of course you have, if you have a receiver or a processor that has parametric equalization, you could go in and tweak with that. So I don't have, unfortunately the Marantz does not have a manual PEQ, but it does have the Audyssey editor app. So when I come back and do another video, I'm going to go in and I'm going to edit the Audyssey app, and we're going to see how much better we can get this response. But this is still a pretty darn good response. I'm going to call this left C. And then I'll just show you, I'm going to do one more measurement. I'm going to do the mother-in-law seat, and we'll see how bad it is. You could stay right there. Okay, so this is the worst seat to sit at, and I don't have a lot of control over it, to be honest with you. I just want to show you what happens with bad seating position. And you can see this is actually not too bad here, but you do have a pretty big dip at 70 Hertz. So it's not ideal. I'm going to call this mother-in-law. And she won't know any better anyways. So really, you want to sit in those 3 seats that I showed you. And this kind of response that we're seeing here, you wouldn't have that with just a single sub. You would have all sorts of dips, much different consistency issues. And if I had the ability now, I could fix this area right here with manual EQ. I can knock this down a little bit, and it won't have much effect here. EQ will be effective here because these traces are kind of similar. And really, I wouldn't do much here because this is a good response. You want a gradually rising response as you lower in frequency. So from 100 Hertz, we're at 80 something dB. and then we're at 85 dB by the time we're at 20 hertz. And what you'll learn is when you have a flat response like you see here, you could turn those subwoofer levels up a little bit. You could turn the bass up a little bit and it won't sound boomy. This is the kind of stuff you want. So without having control of your frequency response, by controlling the modes in your room, by using multiple subs, you won't be able to turn the bass up as much because it'll be, more of a nuisance to you. And my wife is always the litmus test for that because she's very sensitive to bass problems. And when she comes in and listens, if it sounds boomy to her, she'll tell me. So I know when she's not complaining about the bass that I've gotten it done pretty well. And you can see the response here again is we're from 85 dB, I would say 86 dB down to, what is that right there? I would say from 70 to 85. So we're plus or minus 7.5 dB from about 15 hertz all the way out to 100 hertz. That's pretty darn good. Like I said, this is not an ideal setup, but just using 2 subs and playing around with time alignment and delay and phase really made a difference. And guys, I'm telling you, it is worth the investment if you're putting multiple subs in your room. You need to download the program from REW. It's free online. Get the UMM6 Dayton audio microphone and just start doing some sweeps in your room, because just doing little tweaks here or there, if I didn't mess with the phase, if I just tried to do this by ear, it would have taken me a lot longer and I probably wouldn't have known what I was missing. And when I was listening to the setup originally before I messed with phase and just tuned the system with my SPL meter, I felt like, it sounded good, but it wasn't as full as I'd like it. But then when I started doing these measurements and I saw the big suck outs and I used the phase controls to fix that, everything just kind of came together and it sounds much more full. When you get good bass integration with multi-sub, you don't localize the subwoofers where they're at in the room, and they also blend more with the main channels. So when you're listening to just 2 channel, for example, you don't really realize that those little speakers we have up over there above the TV, they're not producing all the bass because you don't really know where the bass is coming from. So below 80 hertz, the bass is more omnidirectional. And if you get rid of the resonances in the room, you really don't localize that bass, and you just enjoy a fluid sound between your subwoofers and your speakers. So that's all I want to say about that, my friends. Get REW, get a mic, play around, and you'll find yourself wanting to tweak constantly. I know when I shut this off, I'm probably going to mess with the phase a little bit more to try to work on that little bump that I had there. But I hope this video was useful to you. And guys, if you want to do any suggestions on video topics we should cover, or you want early access to unique content that we don't post on the Audioholics site or on the YouTube channel, you should take a look at our Patreon channel. It's patreon.com/Audioholics. For a very, very minimal contribution, you can really help us. In fact, if you're noticing, the video quality on this and the sound quality on this video is better than the last few we've been doing. I just invested in a $1,000 camera, Canon camera, and a lapel microphone. And I'm doing that because I'm getting funding through Patreon, and it's helping us to improve the production quality of our videos for you. Because I know everybody's complaining they don't like the sound, they don't like the video, but you know what? This stuff costs money, and YouTube is not paying me, it's not paying the bills. So I'm doing this more as a service to you guys and to supplement the Audioholics.com website. I go much more in detail on subwoofer setup and calibration on the editorial site. So all you propeller heads that want to learn more about it and how to calculate Q to do filter corrections with PEQ correction, we have articles on our site that talk about that. I even have guest posts from Dr. Floyd Toole and other people in the industry, other acoustics experts that have tons of knowledge. So guys, I hope this is helpful to you. Please let me know down below what you're doing for multi-sub and what you're doing in your room to get the bass better. I'm kind of curious to see what your method is. I gave you a method here. Let me know how you like it. And until next time, my friends, keep listening.